It's the Empowerment Perspective Radio Show, hosted by Demiso Josie, Kareem Spence, and Miss Stacy Sanderson Dick. Stay empowered. Stay empowered. Stay empowered.
Right, welcome to another episode of the Empowerment Perspective Radio Show. I go by the name of Demiso Josie alongside
Spence is here.
We are missing Stacy Sanderson Dick. Had a family situation she had to take care of, so shout out to her. Fairness to her, I missed last week's show, so you know.
Yeah, it was crazy. So last week after the intro, and it was funny because I forgot I was supposed to go in. So Adam looking at me like, "Yo, you gonna say something?"
He was cueing you. He was like,
Because I'm so used to you doing the intro, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's right. He's not here today."
That is crazy. So on that last show, we had we talked about finances.
Yeah, we talked about money. They tried to go and talk about my money, but I continued to deflect. I'm like, no, not talking about my money.
We need like 3 hours for that, though.
Listen, we may need just to shut the whole studio down for a day and just talk about it.
That's funny. So, yeah, I missed out. I was at that wedding out in the Hamptons, so shout out to my cousin out there. He got married out there. And
did you get some champagne?
I got more than champagne.
What's more than champagne?
We got it in.
You got it in?
Yeah, I think I'm just now recovering from
let me ask you this. Was it open bar, though?
It was open bar.
It was open bar.
Yeah, like 12 o'clock in the afternoon, but it was open bar.
People in the Hamptons got real problems because they got real tax problems.
Absolutely.
Cost a
lot. They even had like a comedian, like when you walked into the reception area, and he was going in on people. It was funny. I was like, I need to have you on the show. Too funny. But, we've been working the podcast and working on 2019. So those of you who follow us on the empowermentperspective.com, we've been making announcements about 2019 being a big year. So we're planning. If you haven't started planning for your 2019, you better start doing that right now.
You start looking at that calendar.
Yes, the calendar. Yes, the calendar. But I do have to take a personal story. And I'm going to admit the fact that half of this was my fault. So we had a scheduled podcast up in New York City with
shout out to Cheryl Jacobs.
Yes.
Look how long it took me to get a female pilot that want to talk to us.
So you've been working on this for a long time. So it was a miscommunication in terms of the time that we were supposed to go up there. And I was like, I'm leaving after work, and Kareem was like, yo, the show's at 3 o'clock. And I was like, I can't leave till 3 o'clock. So I booked the hotel, though, that day. And this is my ticket.
I don't know why you did that. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, because I figured, we were supposed to stay up in New York or whatever and get a couple of shows in. So, I booked the hotel, and then I call you, and that's when you was like, yo, the show's at 3 o'clock. So, I had to try to cancel my hotel plans. So, I figured I called the hotel, and I just literally got off the phone with them. And they was like, no, you can't change it. It's too late. I was like, what do you mean it's too late? So, this is Friday, right? So, I look on the website. And the cancellation policy said that your reservation had to be canceled by Wednesday. I said, this don't even make sense. I booked it on Friday. How's the cancellation policy 2 days before?
Oh, wow, yeah, that shouldn't have even applied to you.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They're petty.
They was like, yo, we're going to charge you, or you're going to have to use this, or you can move it. So I was like, all right, I'll move it, whatever. So I figured I'd take my girls up later in November. So I moved the date. And then they had a nerve to charge me extra $20 because the fee changed.
They charged it. That was funny.
so should I be taking this personal?
You should take that personal. Matter of fact, you should shout out the hotel chain that did this.
I can't shout them out because I use them all the time when we travel. I stay with the brand because I like getting points and free stuff. So I figure we're on the road a lot. And I like this chain. We stayed at this chain plenty of times. So I'm not going to shout the chain out. I'm going to shout out the worker. She should have hooked me up.
She should have.
And be like, listen, all right, cool, here's your money. I can see you literally just did this like 10 minutes ago.
So let me ask you this. Could you have possibly said that it wasn't you, it was your daughter playing around with the phone and then hit the button by mistake?
No, I didn't say that. I said, matter of fact, the messed up part about it was they didn't even charge my account yet. It didn't even show up as any charge on my account.
Okay.
But she was like, if you don't do something about this, we going to hit your pockets and give your room away.
Oh, they're going to double dip.
Yeah, man. So I'm taking that personal. I'm sorry about that.
I got to tell you personal, too.
All right, what you got?
So this is the first day of the school week. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, you got a new position. You changed jobs and everything. So when I get there, they was like, oh, we're so sorry about Demiso. I'm like, yo, he's not dead. I'm like, you can call him. Like, yo, we're so sorry we're going to miss him. Like, he did. I'm like, I just talked to him yesterday. You called me on the phone. Unless something happened I didn't know about. I'm like, yo, he's not dead. Go ahead, call him. Shout him out. Let him know what you care.
Shout out to my former co-workers and colleagues down in Egg Harbor Township. I am live and well, for those of you who are listening to the show. But I did move on to another job in Hamilton. So I'm back where I started. And you know how we do.
Full circle.
Okay. So you know how we do, though. When we go places, we talk to people, and we're working on another show. I can't say what we're going to be doing just yet. And I remember I ran into this young lady who's on the set with us right now. And I was like, started talking to her. The one thing I kind of got offended by is she went to St. Joe's University. Almost the right color, it's just the wrong school. At least you were in the city.
It's a different neighborhood, too.
Yeah, it's a different neighborhood. It's definitely not North Philadelphia. And then we got to talking, and she was like, yeah, I'm an English major and into journalism. And I was like, I said, we're looking for a host of this show. I know her parents very well. I worked with her mother at the high school, and we had her father, the Dr. Frank Vinesky, on our show. We were down there in Hamilton. What is it? Be Epic.
Yeah, Be Epic. Well, you can think about his book, and everything he did. I can't get the idea out of my mind with him running around with tights on, like flying around the school. That bothered me on the show. It bothered me when you told me about this is what this man did as a sacrifice to help out the kids. That's too much.
Hey, listen, man, anything for the kids. So we have his daughter on.
Yes. Welcome.
So welcome, Frankie. How you doing, lady?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, thanks for being down here. So we have a traditional question we're going to ask you later on the show. Our audience knows what that question is. So, but today's show is all about media, specifically women in the media. So the empowerment perspective, what we try to do is we try to empower other people. So it just kind of clicked the fact that you wanted to be into journalism, and I was like, hey, we're doing this show. What are you doing on Saturday? And this was like yesterday. This is how.
Yeah, it was short notice, but I'm excited to be here.
He was like, nah, good, I'm good. So she showed up. I didn't think you were coming, but I was like, this guy.
We light today, too. Normally we have a full house.
That's good. But we got a lot of call-ins today. So it's about women in the media. For those of you who know me, I was formerly an employee at ESPN and ABC, so I reached out to some of my former colleagues, and we're going to chop it up today about media. How can you get into the game? Just the role that women play within the media, and some of the things that they have to deal with. Hopefully you have some questions. I've seen your little book over there, and it's like 30 pages. You was up late last night, weren't you?
Yeah, this will be helpful for me because I am aspiring media professional.
Why do you want to get into this game?
I've always loved to read and write ever since I was little. Would make my own little newspapers and magazines. Just always kind of loved telling stories. And I think the news is, even though some people think print is dying or dead, I think the news will always be important. And I think it's really important for women to get into media too and represent themselves.
That I agree with. But you mentioned that professional and you have notes and he has notes. I'm standing here trying to figure out which headphones I'm supposed to use. I guess I'm the unprofessional media person on the set today.
You wouldn't be you if you didn't do that. I don't have any notes in front of me. Somebody's actually texting me to listen to the show. It's empty. It is. Yeah, I put on
but it looks good. Now, I can tell you, she has a whole lot of stuff that she's written down. She came prepared.
I'm afraid.
No, I'm just a big note taker. I like to have my notes in front of me.
That is awesome. So what do you think about my story? Should I have taken it personal?
Yeah, I definitely would take that personal, especially if it's a hotel chain you use a lot. They should know that you're a regular. They should treat you better.
I should have an insider. That's what I'm talking about. I need the guy with the white gloves to come in, open the door, pour my drink. You need anything, Mr. Josie?
Matter of fact, did you tell them that you were a regular?
No, they should know. It should pop up and be like, listen, you're a preferred guest, member, blah, blah, blah. But no, they just wanted to hit my pockets.
Interesting.
I spent all my points down in Atlanta last time.
You went all in?
I went all in. Well, halfway in. I still got some left over. Speaking of Atlanta, yes. I want to talk about vision before we get into the actual meat of this show. I'm a firm believer in having a vision and creating that vision and a plan to attack it. And it kind of 3 years ago, I went down to Atlanta and I saw Manny Scott speak at this conference. And I put out to the world of Facebook, I said, I'm going to be back in Atlanta speaking. I didn't know what that meant, what that looked like or anything like that. So the next year I put the proposal together for this one conference and they was like, all right, we're going to send you down to California. So me and Darlene went to California and we did a conference out there for educators. And I said, no, I got to get to the A somehow, shape, form, or fashion. So I put another proposal together, and we went to Orlando on that one. So we go down there, and in our particular presentation, there was like 7 people in the thing.
It was.
I was like, yo, ain't nobody gonna listen to anything that we have to say. But I'm a firm believer. I don't care if it's 1 or 1,000 people in there. I'm going to deliver what I got to deliver. And the right people was in there.
Yes.
One of the directors walked out and then went and got the big director. And they was like, on top of the fact that Kareem was being petty. Down there.
They wanted to make sure, is he worth all this trouble? Let's go see what he's in there talking about. Make sure he's worth it.
So they didn't have Kareem's name on the list to be down there. Mind you, we had to pay for this. So Kareem got a little angry, a little petty. And then once they seen the presentation, they invited us down to Atlanta for free this time, and to Vegas. So I finally got down to Atlanta, and I was like, all right, the vision came true. But then I just got a call from the same organization maybe 2 days ago, and it was like, yo, we're going to put you guys in the pre-conference, and you're going to have all these sessions and things. So the vision, I didn't know it was going to take that route. I thought I was just going to go straight to the A. But sometimes, and I wrote this to some of my colleagues in my new school, I said, sometimes we just got to take the stairs. We can't take the express route to everything. So even though we had to go to California, and then eventually Orlando, and finally found our way to Atlanta. Sometimes we just got to take them stairs instead of trying to find the easy way out of everything. But that would have never happened if that vision didn't start. You know what I mean? So a lot of us, we need to start dreaming big. We need to start having visions. We need to start, looking to step out of your comfort zone and starting to attack those things. So.
Well, speaking of that, I want to touch on something that's really controversial right now in the media, which is the Nike commercial with the face of Kaepernick. Now, I watched the commercial several times, and it had nothing to do with him taking a knee or anything else against the military or even the flag. More importantly, what he said and what you just said was to dream crazy. And if your dream is not crazy enough, then maybe you have the wrong dream. And I found that to be really big because your dream is crazy. And you was like, yo, you coming too? And I'm like, I'm coming too?
Let's go.
That wasn't even part of my dream.
Right.
My dream was to be playing for Los Angeles Dodgers or the Lakers. That wasn't my dream.
So be ready, Frankie. I might be like, listen, we're going to go ahead and go here and speak here, and you're going to represent women in media. So now you're officially media. So congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're officially
Sounds
now,
great.
So now let me ask this before we go into your why and your purpose and things of that nature. I'm on an injured reserve this week, and I was telling you guys before we came on, right? This is the first week of school, right? I've been wearing these shoes all summer, but I didn't get my 6.5 hours in straight. So what happened was I had to go down to the nurse's office because the back of my heel, it was cut from the shoe. Now, how do you manage that?
What, the blisters from the new shoes?
Yes, that's the worst.
It's honestly the worst. I honestly just don't wear the shoes anymore. I give up.
Oh, no, we can't do that. No, shoes cost
then you
money.
gotta get
no.
I'm just kidding. You got to get some heavy duty Band-Aids on that.
What do you recommend? And this is for everybody that's listening that's professional. You don't want to go through this. What kind of Band-Aids you recommend?
Just the Band-Aid brand, the really thick ones though, like the heavy duty.
They got Snoopy on them?
Star Wars characters.
Now, should I have winter urgent care?
Yeah, maybe. No, I'm just kidding. No, just get those.
Listen, anything that has you walking funny, you definitely want to go and see what the emergency is, because that's the emergency.
Too funny. Well, we're about to take this quick commercial break. On the other side of the commercial break, we're going to have our first call in from a woman in media, and we'll introduce her on the flip side of this break. Stay tuned.
Visit Dutch Family Furniture and Restaurant in the Greater Bridgeton Amish Market. Our expansive showroom features fine handmade Amish furniture, all imported from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Specializing in custom orders, Dutch Family Furniture can create the perfect piece for your home. Visit the family-owned and operated Dutch Family Restaurant for fresh and delicious food for any meal. Try some pot roast or farm-raised turkey or any of our delicious meals and desserts. Dutch Family Furniture and Restaurant at the Greater Bridgeton Amish Market is the perfect place to find home away from home.
Hi, I'm Gary Monteroso, and I just love the sound of beer being poured into a glass. If you also enjoy a cold brew, then join Tara Nurin and me every week for What's on Tap. We'll bring you tasting reviews, some of the top personalities in the beverage world, and much more. Saturdays at 1 p.m. on 99.9 FM, 1240 a.m., and online at snjtoday.com.
All right, welcome back to the Empowerment Perspective Radio Show. I go by the name of Demiso Josie alongside my man, the one and only Mr. Petty,
Yes, I'm
Kareem
here.
Spence. We got Frankie in the building.
Welcome, Frankie,
What's up?
to the team.
Thank you.
All right. We also so this show's all about women in the media and media in general, and we're all about trying to empower our audience. So if you have an interest or you know someone that has an interest in being in the media, today's the show that you want to pay attention to. We're going to hopefully talk to some people that's going to shed some light on how they got into the industry and what it takes to be successful. As I mentioned before, in a previous life, I used to work for a company called ESPN and ABC, and I met some awesome people in New York City. And I have one on the line right now, Miss Natasha Manners. How are you doing, lady? Natasha? All right, maybe we'll go back to Natasha in a minute. But what I'm going to do is tell you about my journey on how I got into the game. It was kind of by accident, to be honest with you. My brothers, one was going to be an electrical engineer, the other one was going to go into like radio and stuff. And I didn't want to be like them.
Okay.
So I wanted to blaze my own trail. And I just looked at the catalog at Temple. I was like, all right, for radio, TV, and film. So I said, let me go ahead and pick this as a major.
Okay.
But one of the wonderful things that Temple has done is that they have required an internship. So what happened with me is I had an internship with, at the time, it eventually became CW, but I think it was like UPN or something back in the day.
UPN, okay.
Yeah,
He's got really good programming.
Yeah. So there was this local program that I was a producer for, and the lady I was working under actually got fired.
Oh, wow.
So instead of canceling the show, they was like, well, here you go. It's your show.
They just gave you the keys.
They gave me the keys to the ship. So I created this show. And get this, though. So there's a program director. And I created the show. And I had a very, very young Jill Scott on it. She was a poet at the time. Okay. And they was like, no, she can't be on the show.
You didn't sign her to your label?
I should have signed her. So the amazing thing is that, here's Jill Scott now, is this mega star and all this stuff. And
she started with you.
Yeah, so...
Does she remember you? Like, if you walk up to her like, Jill, what's up?
I'm sure not. Jilly from Philly, what's up?
I'm
sure
chicken wings I used to bring you?
Hey, grits, yeah. But so I put my resume built off of that, and I got a job offer for ESPN. Went up to Connecticut, and started working as a network integrator up there, and that was just weird. Like it was, here's Stuart Scott sitting next to you eating lunch, and then you got all these NFL players and these athletes just walking around campus. But the weird thing at the time is everybody was like, "Yo, you work for ESPN, but they didn't pay you jack." I was only making $28,000 a year.
Oh, man.
Fresh out of college. And I'm looking at that now, like, speaking of finances, I was like, how did I manage having an apartment and all that stuff?
But you only ate like once a week?
Nah, I ate good. Well, ESPN they took care of you on other ends.
Okay.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So all the perks was pretty good. So then it's about networking at that particular point in time. So I think we got Natasha online. Natasha, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Is it raining up there in New York City?
It looks like it's about to start coming down very soon, but right now we're dry.
All right. It's been a long time. I haven't talked to you in a long time.
It has been a very long time, but it's good to hear from you.
Likewise. Well, listen, we're going to jump right in. I just want you to explain your journey and how you got into television. Like, why did you choose that route, and how did you get to where you are right now?
Interesting. So I've always been interested in arts, entertainment, television. I've always been interested in that industry. Parents out there will say, try to be a doctor or be a lawyer, a judge. Things like that never interested me. I've always been someone of the arts. So I started that back in high school. I was always a part of, a media club, anything, the newspaper, the magazine. And that pretty much carried me all the way through college. In college, I was a part of the Black media team. I was a part of the broadcasting news magazine. I went to West Virginia University, so they were very big on that in their journalism school. I was a part of the newspaper, reporting, things of that nature. So it always interested me to interact with people that way. Mm-hmm. And I stayed with that.
Right.
I continued with that. I never ventured off and did anything else simply because it just did not interest me. This is something that kept driving me since I was in high school. Mm. So I continued that journey, and right out of college, I was very determined that I would only do work that was related to what I was interested in. So therefore, I looked for, radio. I looked for television. I looked for newspaper, magazine. I took internships that were unpaid, but it was magazine experience. It was in television. It was in radio advertising. So I stayed with that. And the journey's not easy because, again, I said unpaid. So you have to really be committed to what you want to do. But I was very committed to doing that.
Now,
I did.
Not to cut you off, but I know your father played a major role in your life. What role did he do in supporting your dreams and what you wanted to do?
Just all time support. I mean, again, he supported me, but he was also of the very old school of, oh, are you sure you don't want to be a judge? Are you sure you don't want to be a lawyer? A doctor? Those typical things. And I would say that I am not interested. So it was fighting through that. And I think by me being really determined, he saw that, oh, she really doesn't want to be a doctor, which I really did not want to do that.
Yeah.
But then when he saw that, he's constantly supporting me, making sure, that I got the job. He helped me when I was doing my unpaid internships, making sure that I was eating, making sure I was getting to where I was going, just the constant support. But again, he was on the old school level of, doctor, lawyer, and then had to, come my way when he saw that I wasn't budging.
So let me ask a quick question. This is Spence. So on the days that it was raining, like today, how did you continue to find the motivation to keep going, even though you were in those unpaid internships?
Not always easy. Not always easy. It's a drag. Sometimes it's a drag. You're going somewhere. You're putting your all into it, and you're not getting paid. You're going for the experience, and that is what I would always tell people in media. A lot of the work that you will do comes from experience. It does not come from what they teach you in school.
Kind of
what
like
I
teaching.
am doing, exactly. It's all experience. What I do right now, you cannot learn that in school.
And
They don't teach you
what
that
is it that
at
you do
all.
today?
So right now I work for ABC Television Network, and I am a senior manager of broadcast schedules and implementation. So basically my group is in charge of working with the larger broadcast operations group to ensure that all the elements in all of our ABC television programming is done correctly. It's a lot of what the viewer doesn't see. And I'll sum it up to say, we make it pretty for the viewer. So what you're seeing is a compilation of the show content, compilation of commercials, promos, graphics, and all kinds of elements. It does not start out that way, but it finishes that way thanks to the work that my team is helping to do. So we make that program pretty for you guys.
Got you. Now, in a former life, we worked together as operations managers down there in ABC, and it was sort of the same type of a situation a little bit. But on the show, we also have Frankie Reneski here, who just finished college as a journalism major. Is there any advice that you can give her on how she can get into the game of television?
Don't stop. I've been speaking a lot to a lot of people that have just recently graduated. It's serious business out here. When I graduated, we didn't have this digital world as we have right now. That's a whole new realm. So you have to make yourself available to learn any and everything. They're out here hiring people that are one-woman shows, one-man shows that know how to do any and everything and willing to do any and everything. Again, a lot of what happens now, they do not teach you in school. Do not just look for things that are on paper. A lot of people come out, I want to be a reporter. I want to be a producer. I want to be a director. That's great. But there are so many other opportunities aside from those things. There's just new opportunities in the digital world, social media world. They're hiring for these types of jobs that people don't necessarily know about. They do not teach you these things in school. A lot of this is experience-based. So I would say look for all aspects. Look for anything and everything related to media, related to the digital world. I work a little bit in new technology. Everything is computer-based now. So do not limit yourself, and don't be Don't be afraid to try something new.
Right, thank you. Yeah, I actually just had an internship at a TV station in Philly where I was on the digital team, and it definitely was really eye-opening to see that there are other jobs besides just being on TV or on air, and it was definitely really eye-opening. But I definitely also relate to your story because I've always wanted to be in the arts too, but it definitely can be discouraging when I see a lot of my friends, business majors, getting their jobs right out of college, and I'm kind of, do I really want to do this? But I definitely really do want to do this, so I'm definitely going to keep on that path.
One of the biggest things, really, and especially in TV, is your ability to network. Meeting people, this is part of the reason why I asked you to be on the show today, frankly, because we were talking to a lot of people that you can make contacts with and developing that network and trying to get into it. So when I worked at ESPN, there were art majors I worked next to. It was all about who you knew at that particular point in time. And then you kind of navigate the waters of, once you're in the company, once you're in the door, like the sky's sort of the limit. You kind of feel your way through it. So I want to switch gears a little bit here. I know that you're a parent and you're married. So talk about how do you balance that within industry such as TV?
Ooh, that's a job in itself. You really have to. When I had my first child, he's now 15, but when I had my first child, I was actually working in the same environment that Denise spoke of before. It was a 24/7 department, working all kinds of hours, overnight, weekends. Your life was not your own. What really helped me was I had a strong support system behind me that really helped me. There was no way that I would be able to do that without that support system. But after a certain amount of time, even that became too draining. You do not get to have the life that you necessarily want. That's not the life that I wanted, which is why I switched to something in my department that was a little bit more stable than not working with a department that was, 24/7 on call. You were expected to stay after your 8 hours if there was breaking news, and it just started to drain me. And I had been with that department for a little bit, about 5 years, and I always say 5 years is that mark when people start figuring out if they want to continue in a job, if they're really, really interested in it, or they might start looking elsewhere. Their interests might, differ. So that was about the time. And I went to people and I told them, I said, listen, I was actually willing to quit so that I can get some normalcy back in my life because I had a child at the time, was married, and I wasn't home half the time. So it just so happened that there were other opportunities in my area that was a little bit more stable that I happened to go for. But it's not easy. And I say that for any job. It's not easy when you have other people to care for, whether it's children, whether it's parents. There are people that, they do, nonprofit work or other work outside of their regular day job. It's balancing act is not easy. I am a big proponent of self-care. I preach that to the top of my lungs. So I always say, if you can find something, you cannot make work your entire life. I always say that, work happens in the course of life. Life doesn't happen in the course of work. And I stick by that. Yeah.
Well, Natasha, we definitely thank you for your time. Yes. It was definitely good to get up with you, and hopefully we can contact you in the future.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely going to be in New York relatively soon. We were supposed to be there a couple weeks ago, but I messed that up. But we'll be up there. We'll be up there definitely and check you out. And hopefully everything is well with you and your family. And
it is. Thank you.
Awesome. So, thank you again. And we got to go on this commercial break, and I'll be in touch. So on the flip side of this break, we have more call-ins. We're going to have a call-in from California and somebody down in North Carolina. Talk about network. My network is like expansive. Right there. It's getting bigger. So we'll be back right after this message.
I'm Father Robert Sinatra, pastor of St. Padre Pio Parish here in Vineland, New Jersey. Come and experience the best of Italian culture at our 16th annual St. Padre Pio Festival, held on September the 23rd, 2018, from 12 to 6 p.m. Taste the food, hear the music, and most importantly, share in the faith of the great Italian saint from Pietrelcina and his love for our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Hope to see you there.
Hi, I'm Gary Monteroso, and I just love the sound of beer being poured into a glass. If you also enjoy a cold brew, then join Tara Nurin and me every week for What's on Tap. We'll bring you tasting reviews, some of the top personalities in the beverage world, and much more. Saturdays at 1 p.m. on 99.9 FM, 1240 a.m., and online at snjtoday.com.
All right, welcome back to the Empowerment Perspective Radio Show. Mr. Petty, how'd you feel about Natasha? She gave you some good information.
It was one. I know she had to go, but it was one question should have asked her about them shoes. Because listen, I'm in pain right now, but I'm fighting my way through it. I'm on the injury report today.
That is too funny. So I talked about my network, and again, I'm about putting myself around people that are about things and trying to empower as many people as possible. So I had to dig deep into my network on this one, and this is somebody that I have on the line that I kind of grew up with. She kind of grew up with my brothers. I found out that she went down south and started doing a thing in the media. Miss Erica Lenny, how are you doing, lady?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Where are you in the South? I forgot to ask you.
I'm in Virginia Beach.
Oh, Virginia Beach. Huh. Went to the beach, huh? So talk about a little bit what you do down there. Like what's your role in the media?
I work on a international magazine program called Turning Point International, and it's a Christian-based program, but we air throughout Africa, the Caribbean, the United Kingdom. So it's more of an international program than an American one. But we are starting out on a digital channel that the company created. So I'm really excited about that.
That is awesome. How did you decide that this is something that you wanted to do? Was it a calling for you, or do you feel like this is something that you always just wanted to do?
You know, growing up, I always loved watching TV. So I always loved the idea of television and film, to be honest. But I think I just went into it. There was other avenues I wanted to do. I wanted to be a pilot. I took flying lessons. I did enjoy it. I thought about a lot of other professions, but I kept coming back to television or just being creative. I think that's what I wanted to do, was to be creative.
I got you. So talk about your journey there. How did you go about getting there?
Well, I went to Hampton University. That's how I ended up in Virginia. And I studied broadcast journalism. I ended up going to Regent University to do script and screenwriting. And after that, honestly, I started working in social services. I worked at a group home afterwards. And my coworker, honestly, his name is Jay Brown, really, every day he would say, Erica, you are wasting your time. This is not where you're supposed to be. And I went back to Regent for something, and I saw a flyer for actually the show I work on now. And I started interning, and that led me to, being an associate producer. Now I'm a senior producer there. And I think it was just fate, honestly.
Got you. Talk about your role as a female in the media. Like, what kind of skills do you have to develop in order to be successful in what traditionally was a male-dominated industry?
I think writing. I think writing is very important. I think to be skilled in writing, to be skilled in all aspects of media at this point, because now we're a lot of the industry, you kind of have to know everything: lighting, directing, camera work, editing, because people are, you save money if you can do everything. That's always the key. If you could do everything, then you can save a little bit of money. But I think, you don't have to be a master of everything, but have a working knowledge of whatever it is that you want to do in media. There's a lot of aspects to media that people don't realize. And so it's not just, directing or producing, and there's a lot of different roles. But whatever your role is, be familiar with it. Learn it to the best of your ability, and be good at what you do. I think that's the biggest thing, because I think if you're good at what you do, it can definitely open some doors for you.
Now, this is Spence, but as a producer of a show, how do you manage egos? I have a really big ego. I really do.
Yeah, it's tough managing.
I have a really big ego. How do you manage
Well,
it?
see,
Because it couldn't be
here's
two
the
of me
thing.
on the same show. It would work.
Here's the thing. The show I work on, the team is very small. So there's no room for ego. You know, like, yes, I'm the senior producer, but I'll go over to the craft services table. I spend times when we have guests. I have fixed food for people. I don't have a problem doing that because my goal is to ensure that we have a good show. And so if I'm going to ensure we have a good show, then I have to lay, and everyone has to lay their ego down. I think that comes into play. Let's say if I had a really huge team and, you know, I had to step in and do things, like go to pick up a guest from the airport and stuff like that, then maybe my ego would be bigger. But because there's only a couple of us on the show, I wear many hats. So there's no room for ego.
That's funny. How do you decide in terms of your content? I know that media is largely driven by the audience and the audience's wants. So when you go into a show, like, what's that process? Are you constantly thinking about what the audience wants, or are you just creating content and hopefully that you'll get a big following?
No, it's definitely audience driven. And the show I work on was created specifically for Africa. The man who created the show is he's Nigerian and British, and he created the show specifically for Africa. And one thing with our show we don't do is we only show the beautiful parts of Africa. We will not go into a place and manipulate images. I'll put it like that. And create, you know, people don't see the parts of Africa that I see when I go. And so those are the things that I like to show. I like to show, you know, people doing things. I've done stories where people who were in slums, but it was a situation where they came out of the slum. And I'm not denying any of those other things exist, but I think we have enough of those images to suffice all of us. And so my goal is to show, with it being a Christian-based program, we like to show people who have, God has helped them through various situations in their life. And so those are the things that I know that our audience really likes to see. And the fact that most people now live in cities in Africa, and not to say there are still villages and things like that, but the majority of the people live in cities. And so I always like to read data, get understanding, and create a program that I know our audience will enjoy.
I think that's big because I think a lot of people have this misunderstanding that media has agenda. I mean, there are some places out there that may have it, but it is 100% audience driven. If you don't like the content, stop watching it, and it will change the content. The audience has the power to really dictate and drive what the media is all about. And in these individual stations and things, they have a brand that they're trying to protect. It's like Nike. Like, you know what I mean? Nike's going after athletes and sports people. You don't want to be an athlete, you don't want to wear Nike, you stop buying it. They're going to change their brand to reflect it. So the media doesn't necessarily have this agenda. There's no big brother watching. They're watching you and seeing what your habits are, and then they're going to create the content to get as many people as possible. So if you don't like the content, stop listening. Don't stop listening to this show.
No,
this is good stuff.
Other shows, yeah. Well, I'll say this. I'll say we are the number one radio show in South Jersey on Saturday mornings.
That's dope.
Yes, we're number one.
From 12 to 1.
Absolutely. We're number one. We are number one. And we went out and we polled some people, and I actually polled myself, and I came up with the data, and I'm saying that we're number one.
That is awesome. Well, listen, Erica, I know you probably got a flight to catch or something going on, so I definitely appreciate your time and calling in. Definitely want to hit you up for the future. Somehow.
Yeah, we're coming to VA.
Yeah,
We were supposed to have been down in August.
Yeah, we're going to the A. We're going to have to stop by Virginia Beach, too. And
No, we were supposed to have been in Virginia. We were supposed to have went down to Richmond.
Oh, you're right. You're right. So we gotta hook something up. So we'll definitely stop down in Virginia, too.
Don't blame us. Blame Stacy, because she's supposed to be working on our calendar.
So, Frankie, you're on the team now. You're charge of the calendar. So we have to get our calendar.
That's a lot of responsibility. You're going to be
I don't
accountable
know if
for
I
a
can
lot.
handle that.
Even stuff we don't tell you. That's supposed to be on the calendar.
Yes. So thank you, Erica, and safe travels out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Awesome. So that was Erica Lenny. She's down in Virginia Beach. So we talked to Natasha. We talked to Erica. Erica was somebody that I grew up with. And
She's from Stanger Avenue too?
Off of Stanger Avenue. So I part of the podcast and part of these things, I kind of bring on my close people that I grew up with, just so that people can understand that where we grew up and how we were a network of people working together. And, I don't really think there's too many of us that aren't about doing stuff. So
you guys have a really unique neighborhood, and I keep saying that. My neighborhood, nothing like that.
That is awesome. So we have another caller calling in all the way from the West Coast. Is somebody that I worked with actually at ESPN and ABC. I actually followed her from ESPN to ABC. She was nice enough to wake up early in the morning to be on our show. Miss Leslie Perkins, are you there? Leslie? I might have to call Leslie back in a minute. But
I understand, because if you called me early in the morning, I may take a nap too.
That's petty.
But it's like 3-hour difference though.
It is a 3-hour difference, but when you have good friends and you're a good person, they will wake up. Or now she asked me to do it, I'm not waking up.
Wow.
I'm just joking. I am just joking. So what do you think so far, Frankie, about the show?
I think it's just really great, especially for me, to hear from everyone about their journeys, about just how they kept on the path even when it got hard, and just to hear how they really broke into the industry, because it can definitely be discouraging at first when you're just facing job applications and internships and what do I do next. So it's good to hear about there's a lot of different paths to get where you want to go.
Right.
Are you checking off everything on your list?
Yes, I am checking off, circling things, underlining, writing stuff down. I feel like I'm in class or something.
All right. I think we got Leslie on. Leslie, are you there?
I am here now. Can you hear me?
Yes. Good morning.
Morning.
You're awake now.
I am awake a little bit now, yeah.
Oh, nice. I was just telling the people that, we kind of shared the same journey of going from ESPN to ABC. I kind of followed you over there to the big city. So let's talk about your journey into television. When did you have that passion that you knew you wanted to be into media in some shape, form, or fashion?
I don't think it was until my last 2 years of college. I, to be honest with you, I changed my major about 5 times before I even decided on what I wanted to do. Yes, very indecisive. I like choices, I like having my options open.
I can relate. I definitely changed my major too.
I did change it about a few times, and one of them was just because I wasn't doing really well at something I thought I would be really good at, and so I figured, all right, well, let's just switch it up. So I did switch it up, and I was bored with that one, so I decided, all right, well, let's try mass communications. So I was pretty decent at that, and so I figured let's just work on this one. This would be good.
And you went to the University of
Connecticut.
Connecticut, and they had a pretty decent program, I take it.
They did have a decent program. I spent most of my time focused on interpersonal skills, more so than their television program. They had a really tiny TV program station, and they didn't do a whole lot. So I think it's grown since I've left. But at the time, it wasn't that big, and I spent most of my time just learning more about interpersonal skills, which is kind of funny to say now, but in the long run, it helped me, right? So I did study mass media communications, but I focused more on the interpersonal side, more so than the actual getting in front of a camera and doing that kind of work. Although I did have an internship in New York City doing post-production, where I learned about patching tape machines and sitting in on editing sessions. At the time, that post-production company was doing a lot of editing for MTV, so it was a time where they were doing the Video Music Awards, and Chris Rock, they were trying to put Chris Rock into a Jamiroquai video, so I'm not sure if people remember Jamiroquai, but it was pretty cool to be involved in. And I thought, well, this is pretty amazing, so I'll want to continue to do this. So I came back to Connecticut trying to find myself a job.
So let's talk about it. You found yourself a job. You got that phone call from ESPN, and they were like, we want to hire you as XYZ. What was that moment like for you?
It was pretty cool because it's ESPN, right? And so, I'm a girl who grew up in Connecticut, and Connecticut doesn't really necessarily have a major sports team. And I was into UConn basketball, and I went to UConn, and I was going to football, soccer, and basketball games since I was about 10 years old. So going to ESPN and working for ESPN was like a dream because I was going to be working at the largest sports network that ever existed, right? So that was pretty amazing experience. And I was pretty lucky. I felt pretty lucky to be able to go into ESPN at such a young age.
Right.
Although knowing now they take a lot of people at young ages.
Yeah. So let's talk about that life, though, because we work together in the same department.
Yeah.
What was that life like as a
It's
young
rough.
person? Yes, it was.
So it's a little bit of both, right? I think when, at our age, when we were 23, 24, even 25, that kind of lifestyle is fun. And Bristol, Connecticut was just like an extension of college. So going to each other's houses at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning because you just got out of work was kind of a normal experience. And it was fun because we were young and that's what you do. But as you get older, that 24 hours, 7 days a week, nights, holidays, weekends, that grows on, that wears on your body, it wears on your mind. And yeah, it gets hard after a while. Your liver, for that too.
So this is Spence, but going into the interview process, did you have to know a lot about sports at ESPN?
I don't remember, but I'm fairly certain they must have asked. But because I was such a huge sports fan anyway, it was easy for me to answer questions about sports. So, I'm sure they asked me things about who's your favorite team, who's your favorite player. And, of course, at the time, and even now, I probably have answers to that. Probably less so now. But at the time, definitely.
No, the reason that I asked that because they had a program show called The Wake Up or the Early in the Morning, and there was a female personality that said that she wasn't going to watch football or NCAA football, NFL or college football for the season. She was like boycotting, and then they just moved her off the show.
It was like, you out.
Yeah.
This is a wrap for you. That's interesting.
That's silly. Why would you do that?
Yeah, right. One of the tell signs of a company's going to hire you is if they put you up at a hotel or they fly you out, they're not going to waste money on you. So that was kind of my experience with ESPN. I went, got invited to come for the interview, but I was like, all right, they're going to put me up in the Marriott. I said, I know I'm coming home with this thing.
They put you in Marriott?
They put me in the Marriott, man.
You get a king or double queen?
I think I had a king.
You had a king.
They had a king, and that was really an interesting experience for me. So you decided to move to ABC, and you worked in, I believe, in the commercial department, correct?
I did. In fact, I was so desperate to move to New York City, I had no idea what I would be doing. I just somehow got the job and just went.
Nice.
The funny thing is, and it sounds so childish now, but at the time, I just wanted to be somewhere bigger. And they were doubling my pay. I was going to New York City. I was young, and I said, "This sounds like fun. Let's do this." So I had an idea of what I would be doing. And in fact, within the interview, they brought up a machine that I knew nothing about. I was like, "Oh yeah, we have that at ESPN."
So you lied to
and
them.
I 100% kind of fibbed. I knew what it was. I just didn't know how to work it. So.
That's not
I
a lie.
learned.
That's not a lie. Because she recognized what it was. She didn't know what it did. That's not a lie.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Sure.
I just graduated from college. I'm hoping to get into journalism, media in some way. So I was just wondering, why do you think it's important for women to get involved in media?
Well, I think it's because it's a little bit of diversity, right? I have to tell you, I've been pretty lucky throughout my career because the first time I was hired for my job I was hired by men. And then the next two jobs I've been hired by very strong, powerful women. And so it's been a decent experience because you want to have people above you that you can look up to and you can learn from. And when I sit in conference rooms, so I went from an operations job to an IT job. And I can tell you that on many occasions, I sit in a room where I'm the only woman. I'm surrounded by a good 8 to 15 men and one woman. And so there's not a lot of women in media, and I think that voice needs to be heard more. And so I think it's important to get yourself out there, whatever path you choose within media, because there's so many of them. Yeah, definitely. You can sit around a room and you be one of 1, 2, maybe 3 women top. So it's good to get us out there.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that the perspective coming from a woman is always going to be different from a man. So I think that your voice needs to be heard, especially in those meetings when they're making decisions.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's dope. I want to switch gears real quick because we're coming near the end of the show. We got like 9 minutes left of the show, and I I want to ask you this question, and it's a really, really important question. I need to ask you: are you petty?
Yes. I think I don't. I want to say not all the time, but sure. I mean, if there's something that irritates me, or if there's a person that, I try to deal with people on the same level all the time. And obviously, there's people you like a lot more than others. Mm-hmm. But I never treat the people that I don't like poorly, right? Because in business and in life, you never know who's going to be there. You never know who you're going to run into. You never know who's the next person that might need to help you. You always want to be kind to those people. But I can't tell you that they've done something or someone's done something or I've heard something that I don't immediately jump to a conclusion that I'm like, well, that's ridiculous. So, yeah, I can be petty.
I'm glad that you admitted it, and I didn't have to bring it out in you. I'm glad that you admit that you were petty.
Well, I don't think that you thought I was going to answer that differently, though.
No, I didn't.
Well, I have another really big, important question, at least to me, because I am petty. I've been dealing with this pain on the back of my heel all morning. I wore shoes this week, and it cut like right in the back. It's really deep. How do you manage that when you put new shoes on and you're running around and you're in pain? What do you do?
Suck it up, Buttercup.
No.
That was the name of it.
I think she watched it.
Lovely. Well, Leslie, we thank you for your time, and the Empowerment Perspective Group has to get out to California before we bring you back. We're going to go out there and capture you. We're going to bring you back to the East Coast where you belong, but we're definitely going to...
Well, I'm ready for that.
All I ask is that you stop at Roscoe's and get us some chicken and waffles before we leave.
So I'm going to let you go back to sleep. It is Saturday, and it's probably like 6 o'clock in the morning out there.
There's probably traffic already.
Yeah, probably traffic. Yeah. Traffic is always out there.
Definitely traffic already.
But thank you so much, lady,
Thank you.
and I'll be in touch. That was Leslie Perkins out there in California. So we talked to three very, very important, prominent ladies in media. We didn't get to ask everybody if they were petty, but we're going to ask you, Frankie, are you petty?
Oh, I think everyone's a little bit petty. I think I try not to be petty. You guys talk to my dad, he says, treat everyone like you want to be treated. So I do my best to do that. But of course, if something's bothering you and really irritating, it's hard not to be petty. But
when's the last time you were petty?
Probably towards my sister.
Was that like today?
Yeah, probably last night, today, this morning.
Oh, wow.
She's always trying. So when I'm at college, she's always in my closet borrowing my clothes without asking. But then if I go into her room and I'm like, can I borrow a shirt? No. Why would you ask that? So, of course, we do get into some petty arguments, I would say.
I don't think that's petty. I don't
No?
like people wearing my clothes. I don't think that's petty.
That is petty.
No.
Well, if she's borrowing mine without asking.
It's her sister.
So if your brother came in your closet, it was like, let me take this brand new jersey that he hasn't worn and put that on. That's okay with you?
I have a story real quick. It wasn't me. My uncle, right? My brother just bought this jersey. It was the Oklahoma jersey. It was one of the new ones back in the day. And he wore it one time, right? And he was about to wear it again. And I see my uncle walking down our dirt road with this jersey on.
He was looking fresh, too?
He was looking fresh. And my brother was so mad. It was like, you know what? I ain't even wearing it anymore. You can have it.
So go ahead and keep my Billy Sims jersey. It doesn't
fun.
matter. I always wear it.
But I think it's fair that, the sisters should be able to share clothes, whatever. Now, if I'm not walking in your closet, we're not related. It's not going to happen.
No, nobody should be wearing nobody else's
don't-
clothes. But my dad was a stickler on that. Nobody wears nobody else's clothes
Listen,
around here.
undergarments I get. But
Yeah, I'm
But
not borrowing.
that's how it starts. It starts with shirts and pants, and then it's like, oh man, I forgot I left my underwear, and then you go put my underwear. No, that just becomes nasty.
that is ridiculous.
So, but if you stop it in the beginning, you don't have to worry about it. Like I had a conversation, and they were talking about bowling shoes. I have my own bowling shoes.
Yeah.
It's like, why don't you wear it? No, I'm not wearing nobody else's shoes. I don't know what people been doing with their feet all day, and I'm not putting somebody else's shoes on.
They got the spray in it.
No, I don't know. Well, what happens if you get somebody who's not paying attention, right? And they just spraying, but they missed the entire shoe, and then they just put it back on like it's clean. No.
That is disgusting.
You have to have a lot of trust in people.
Something to think about with the bowling shoes.
Everyone go buy their own
Bowling
shoes. Yes.
Yeah, next time I go bowling, might have to buy my own.
No, go on Amazon. Everybody go buy their own shoes today. Nobody should be sharing bowling shoes or skates for that matter. If you go like Young's or you go out there to Franklinville, bring your own skates. Stop sharing people's shoes.
Oh my goodness. There's something wrong with you, man. It really is.
It is.
It is.
I have several diagnoses.
So you dressed like the mayor today.
Yes. Oh, yes. So,
why are you dressed up like the mayor today?
we have a speaking engagement. So the Empowerment Perspective has been invited to go down to ACCC in Shalonda Austin's program, which is In My Care. So they have a nice event going on today. They have a lot of community people coming out, and they're going to share some stuff with the students to get them ready for school.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Speaking of school, everyone's back in the school and hopefully back in the swing of things. So hopefully our show prepared you for that. I want to give a shout out to everyone that donated to our fundraiser out there. We were able to give school supplies to the surrounding community here near Vineland, and we also had a school out in the Bronx, I believe we also donated to, that's out there. So the Empowerment Perspective is doing some things. We got our fundraiser coming up for Thanksgiving. What I think I want to do, though, is I want to find a neighborhood and actually cook for the neighborhood. It'd be free, and people could come out and
Pookie, don't show up, Pookie.
I got these cheeseburgers.
Yes.
So if you hit us up and contact us on www.theempowermentperspective.com and drop us a line as to why your neighborhood needs some assistance and would like us to come out there and be a blessing to your neighborhood.
Absolutely.
We're going to figure out a way to make that happen for you. So that's the empowermentperspective.com. So Frankie, how was it today?
It was an awesome experience. I feel really inspired. No, seriously, though, I do feel really inspired hearing from, these strong women in the media and just about their path and just their inspiring words. I'm definitely going to keep pursuing what I want to do, and hopefully it'll lead somewhere, I would say.
Definitely. And I learned a lot from not wearing other people's shoes today.
Yep, I learned not to wear the bowling shoes either.
Miso, you're a grown man. Stop wearing other people's shoes.
I don't even want to wear my shoes half the time. Like, it's crazy. Also, we have coming up, hopefully, we're developing a show. So this was kind of like Frankie's audition for the show. I think she did really well today.
Thank you.
So we're developing a show based upon food and conversation is what I'll say. So I just also want to give a shout out. We had a sponsor for this particular show, Old Brother, down there in Philadelphia on 2nd and Market. They will be having their grand opening event on October 6th, which is Temple's University's homecoming. We're going to be down there doing a live podcast, so make sure you get down there. There's giveaways, free food, and all that stuff. That is Old Brother on 2nd and Market. We met the owners down there.
Yeah, we met the owners. I mean, the food is outstanding. So they fed us, and they didn't even charge us, which was good.
That was awesome. Yeah. I was like, all right.
That's the best part of the day.
I had to pay $50 for parking.
Wow.
So the food was free.
But the food was good, and the environment, the ambiance of like it's like an upscale burger place. So I mean, I recommend everybody go check them out.
Definitely. Again, that's October 6th. That's on 2nd and Market. They were the sponsor for today's show. Old Brother. I think I had the veggie burger down there because I don't eat beef and pork and all that stuff. So they have some options if you don't eat those things as well. So
yeah, I don't eat beef either, but I had the pulled it was a pulled buffalo chicken sandwich. And it had blue cheese on it. And I told him to keep the coleslaw, but it was good though.
Frank, any last words before we get out of here?
I just want to say thank you guys for having me. I loved hearing from what you guys had to say, very entertaining, and just what all the callers had to say. And definitely, if you're a woman out there, don't feel like you can't not pursue what you want to do. Just follow your dreams, and it'll lead you where you're meant to be.
Right. Stacey, we missed you today. On behalf of the Empowerment Perspective Group, make sure you tune in. We'll be back in another 2 weeks here on snjtoday.com. Until next time,
What we got coming up next time?
stay empowered.